It's like, as a young girl, you play in boys league because at that time your dad couldn't find a girls league for you.
Yeah.
But right now, things has changed a little bit. So in the future, what do you want to see, like, or the things for girls basketball to be improved?
Yeah, I think just like more and more opportunities, and I think that's exactly what's happening because there's going to be more and more young girls that love basketball or love another sport and believe that they can be really good at it. And I think it kind of starts with the stage that
Pay attention not to what Caitlin Clark said, but to what she left out, because in laying out her vision for the future of women's basketball in just 35 seconds, she somehow avoided mentioning the very topics that have dominated WNBA discourse for the past 8 months. No social media drama, no rookie hazing controversy, and no acknowledgement of veteran players who spent much of the season questioning her impact. Instead, she talked about young girls in China being able to watch professional women's basketball, emphasized television exposure and global growth, and focused on the next generation of players who haven't even picked up a ball yet. And that contrast between Clark's long-term, global perspective and the league's fixation on short-term conflict explains exactly why Nike chose this moment to drop that commercial in December.
The sports gods aligned, and I literally had that video out like less than an hour after the ad came out. For Caitlin Clark and Nike. By the way, if I remember correctly, it aired in the third quarter of the Cowboys-Redskins NFL game. And I figured I said it in the video, I figured that's why this ad dropped yesterday, was for the NFL and NBA slate. Of course, the NBA, yesterday's basically their biggest day of the year outside of any finals games.
Let's talk about timing, because everything aligned perfectly around Christmas 2024. Caitlin Clark's interview with Chinese content creator Teller Tong dropped on December 26, discussing the future of women's basketball, less than 24 hours after Nike aired its first major Clark commercial during the third quarter of the Cowboys-Commanders NFL game on Christmas Day. That wasn't coincidence, it was calculated strategy. Nike chose one of the biggest sports viewing days of the year, sandwiched between NBA Christmas games and a highly anticipated NFL broadcast, to reach millions of casual sports fans who may not follow the WNBA closely but absolutely know who Caitlin Clark is. The From Anywhere tagline played directly into her logo three-point reputation from her Iowa days, and the overwhelmingly positive reaction suggested it was one of Nike's strongest ads in years. What makes the timing even more revealing is that the very next day, Clark released an interview focused on global growth, bringing women's basketball to places like China and creating visibility for young girls, perfectly reinforcing Nike's decision to position her not just as a WNBA player or even just a basketball star, but as a global sports icon capable of representing the brand on the biggest stages.
Now, I don't know, is it hard to find opportunities to play basketball as a young girl? I know even here in rural East Texas, we had junior high and high school girls basketball, even in a very small school like I went to, which was like, we literally had 500 students, 800 students in the whole school. I can't remember now. My senior class had 32 people in it. But we had full team and we had some good.
Listen closely to this perspective because it reveals how deeply Caitlin Clark understands her own path. She talks about rural East Texas, a school of just 500 students with a senior class of 32, where even in that tiny environment there were full girls basketball teams and players talented enough to make all-district, like a girl named Melissa who could compete at a high level despite being in the middle of nowhere. Clark's point isn't that opportunities don't exist. Her dad put her in a boys' league when she was young because that's where the competition was, not because girls' basketball wasn't available, but that what's missing is visibility, inspiration, and the ability for young girls to turn on the TV and see women playing at the highest level, earning millions, and starring in Nike commercials during NFL games. That's the gap Clark is trying to fill, and she's smart enough to know her role isn't speaking on every controversy or engaging every critic, but becoming so undeniably great, visible, and successful that the next generation sees her and thinks, I want to do that. Because you can't inspire the future if you're constantly consumed by the present generation's drama.
You know, it's getting the young girls to get out and play. By the way, that's where she comes in, WNBA. you better start respecting her, because she's the one that's going to draw the eyes. I haven't seen a good Nike commercial in years, and her commercial yesterday, I'm not going to play it again. It was really damn good. I mean, it's a lot of people pointed out what took so damn long, Nike, but it was really good. So, a little reaction from this video right here. Of course, the tagline is "from anywhere," meaning she can shoot a three.
This is where the WNBA needs to pay attention, because this analysis isn't coming from a casual observer, but from someone who's watched the league closely enough to recognize patterns, like the fact that Nike hadn't produced a truly impactful commercial in years, then suddenly dropped one that pulled 2.5 million views in under 24 hours, prompting frustration that it didn't come out on draft night back in April 2024. Caitlin Clark was taken first overall by the Indiana Fever on April 15th, immediately becoming the biggest story in women's basketball, if not all of women's sports, driving record TV ratings, sellout arenas, and undeniable economic impact from day one. Yet Nike, which signed her to a massive endorsement deal before she ever played a WNBA game, waited 8 months to release its first major Clark-centered commercial, missing the cultural peak when attention was at its highest and leaving real money on the table. The same Christmas Day ad would have landed even harder in April, when every sports outlet was running daily Clark headlines and the league was experiencing unprecedented visibility, making the delay feel less like careful brand strategy and more like a misread of the moment. State Farm, by contrast, moved immediately with Clark-focused ads, and when its official account commented on Nike's commercial, that wasn't friendly brand banter. It was a fast-moving sponsor subtly calling out one that arrived late to the moment.
About time. This is one cool ad, and about time Nike from anywhere. Yeah, I mean, even State Farm. Somebody who sponsors her just weighed in on another sponsor's actual ad. That's pretty wild. State Farm, especially from the logo. That's good. That's good. 100. From Iowa to anywhere, Caitlin Clark. Gamebridge Sports. There we go. Fire. I mean, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. I think Caitlin and MJ and Larry Bird do a commercial from back in the day. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. I grew up in a Larry Bird fan, a major Larry Bird fan. And
this is where the real conversation begins, because the comments reveal what fans actually want to see. Suggestions of Caitlin Clark starring in a Nike commercial alongside Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, recreating iconic ads, or even leading a Space Jam-style movie, ideas that get immediate, enthusiastic reactions because they don't sound crazy at all. The original Space Jam worked because Michael Jordan was at the peak of his cultural power, turning a basketball movie into a $230 million global phenomenon that introduced an entire generation of kids to the sport, while the 2021 LeBron sequel, despite bigger budgets and modern effects, felt forced and corporate by comparison. A Caitlin Clark Space Jam in 2024 or 2025 could actually work because her influence is still fresh and authentic. She has genuine crossover appeal, an underdog story kids relate to, and, crucially, hasn't been overexposed to the point where it feels like a cash grab. The constant Larry Bird comparisons aren't random either. Like Bird, Clark has absurd shooting range, unshakable confidence, and the ability to back up swagger with performance, which makes the idea of a Jordan Bird, Clark Nike commercial symbolically powerful, connecting 3 generations of iconic shooters and personalities in a way that feels organic rather than manufactured.
Not cool. Not cool. She's amazing. Yeah, making the 3 from the logo anywhere. Anywhere. It was just good. I mean, honestly, great commercial. Wonder what took Nike so long to put something like this out. Nevertheless, awesome spot. I don't get it. I mean, this commercial could have, about effing time, Nike. I mean, this commercial could have been put out like the first month she hit the league. I still don't think we can act like Nike's done a good job with this. I mean, this commercial.
This is the frustration fans are voicing, and it's completely valid. The Nike commercial released on Christmas Day 2024 could have been produced and aired within Caitlin Clark's first month in the WNBA. Because nothing in the ad required an 8-month wait, the footage could have been shot in May or June. The From Anywhere concept was already established during her college career. And the cultural moment was already exploding. The numbers prove Nike left massive engagement on the table, with the ad pulling 2.5 million views on Nike's official channel in under 24 hours alone, not counting sports media reposts, reaction videos, social clips, and news coverage that likely multiplied total reach many times over. Now imagine that same campaign dropping in April 2024, when Clark was the biggest story in sports, draft night buzz was at its peak, and casual fans were tuning in just to see what the hype was about. First overall pick announced, broadcast cuts to commercial, and Nike immediately rolls footage of her drilling impossible shots with the From Anywhere tagline. That's how you capture a cultural moment and convert excitement into brand loyalty. Yet somehow Nike, one of the most sophisticated marketing operations in the world, missed it. The delay is even more baffling considering Nike signed Clark to a reported 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal before the draft, knew she would become the face of women's basketball, and had months to prepare for her WNBA debut. Yet waited until December, after the season and playoffs ended and public attention shifted elsewhere, to release its first major commercial. Go back to what Caitlin Clark said in that interview, because this is the part that matters most. She isn't talking about fixing infrastructure, changing rules, or responding to league controversies. She's talking about visibility, getting games on TV more consistently, making it easier for fans to buy tickets and watch in person, taking women's basketball to international markets like China where the sport is massive but the women's game is still growing, and creating moments where young fans can see their idols up close. She's speaking from personal experience, explaining how seeing the players she idolized in person shaped her childhood by making professional basketball feel real and attainable rather than distant and abstract. Clark understands she's now in a position to create those same moments for the next generation, and that's what the Nike commercial, international exhibitions, and record TV ratings truly represent. It's not just about her personal success, Indiana Fever ticket sales, or even short-term WNBA revenue growth, important as those are. It's about building a sustainable pipeline of young girls who grow up watching women's basketball, see it as a real career path, and develop their skills with the goal of one day reaching the WNBA.
Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark has already made a massive impact on the growth of women's basketball, has experienced over the last few years. In fact, she, along with several others, because my God, y'all can't not name somebody else, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, please, has been the driving force in this growth, especially within the WNBA. While there have been popular players and well-known names in women's basketball before Clark came on the scene, there's no question her global renown is unprecedented when compared to her peers. Clark's global name value holds a lot of weight when compared to some of the biggest men's basketball players. There's no question that Clark in women's basketball as a whole still has a lot of room to grow and evolve, both as a business and in terms.
What makes Caitlin Clark's global renown unprecedented in women's basketball is that it goes far beyond U.S. popularity, social media numbers, or selling out arenas. It's about international name recognition that now rivals male basketball superstars. When a Chinese content creator actively seeks out an interview with her, when Nike releases a commercial clearly designed for global audiences, and when the conversation shifts from biggest star in the WNBA to one of the biggest names in basketball, period, that represents an entirely different tier of influence. That comparison isn't hyperbole. During the 2024 WNBA season, games featuring Clark routinely outdrew NBA games in television ratings. Her jersey became the fastest-selling in WNBA history, and international sports outlets that had never covered the league before began running daily stories about her performances. That level of crossover appeal doesn't just elevate a player, it transcends the sport itself. And yes, Angel Reese and Paige Beckers deserve real credit, because this growth isn't happening in a vacuum. The Caitlin Angel rivalry that carried over from college into the WNBA created compelling storylines that pulled in casual fans. while Paige Bucher's sustaining elite performance at UConn kept women's basketball in the spotlight even after Clark left the college game. A rising tide is lifting multiple boats, but it's important to be honest about the scale of impact. Caitlin Clark is the one doing interviews with international creators about the future of the sport, starring in Nike commercials during NFL broadcasts, and determining whether a WNBA game draws 2 million viewers or 400,000 based on her presence alone. That doesn't diminish what other stars are accomplishing. It simply acknowledges who is driving the majority of this unprecedented growth. The WNBA has had icons before, from Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Swoops to Diana Taurasi and Candace Parker, all of whom elevated the league in their eras. But none produced this level of influence across television ratings, ticket demand, merchandise sales, and global recognition, nor forced teams to move games to larger arenas or sparked public discussions about revenue-sharing disparities driven by explosive market demand. That's what makes Caitlin Clark unprecedented. Not that she's the only player who matters, but that the scale and speed of her impact have no historical comparison in women's basketball, and if the WNBA, Nike, and everyone invested in the sport are smart, they'll recognize that moments like this are rare. You don't often get the chance to capture mainstream attention and convert casual curiosity into long-term fandom, which is why the 8-month delay on Nike's first major Clark commercial stands out as such a missed opportunity. Clark's rookie season was a cultural phenomenon where every game felt like an event and every performance sparked debate, with attention that was organic rather than manufactured, creating the perfect conditions for a brand to amplify what was already happening, ride the wave of genuine public interest, and turn it into lasting cultural and commercial momentum. Instead, Nike waited until December. After the season ended, after the playoffs concluded, after much of the attention had naturally dissipated. The commercial itself is excellent, with top-tier production and a perfect concept, but it arrived months after the peak moment, like celebrating a championship in February instead of immediately after the title is won. People still show up, but the emotional intensity is gone. This should concern the WNBA and all stakeholders, because Caitlin Clark won't remain new forever. The excitement of her rookie season, the drama of her transition from college star to professional phenom, was a one-time opportunity. Year 2 will still draw interest, but the freshness fades. By year 3, she'll be an established veteran and attention will shift to the next big college star. That's why timing mattered so much and why waiting 8 months to release a major commercial was such a strategic misstep. You can't recreate the moment when the sports world collectively watched to see if Clark could live up to the hype. Nike had a chance to ride that wave in real time, and they arrived late. The good news, the commercial is strong enough to still generate massive engagement. 2.5 million views in 24 hours proves people still care, and that Caitlin's star power hasn't faded just because the season is over. But imagine what those numbers could have been in April or May when the iron was hot, when Caitlin Clark was breaking rookie records and leading the Fever to their first playoff appearance in years. That's the kind of cultural moment a major commercial could have amplified exponentially. So what does this mean for the future of women's basketball? If we take Caitlin at her word from the interview, the focus should be on visibility and access. More games on national television, more international exhibitions, more opportunities for young fans to see WNBA players in person, higher investment in production quality so broadcasts match the level of play, and marketing that positions women's basketball as must-see entertainment rather than a niche product for hardcore fans. Critically, it means acting with urgency, capitalizing on moments as they happen. The WNBA and its partners cannot afford to be 8 months behind the cultural conversation. When a player is generating unprecedented attention, that's when you schedule primetime games, produce commercials, launch marketing campaigns, and maximize the return on that interest. Because the growth of women's basketball hinges on seizing these moments, not missing them.